The beginning of the summer proved to be a business owner's worst fear. The work had all dried up, and I didn't know if I would be able to get vlogs out to you all. And as I contemplated the future of our channel, opportunistically, the phone started to ring. Good morning, peeps. Welcome to another vlog. So we are officially picking up the pace when it comes to our plumbing endeavors, because today we are starting my biggest home renovation that I've ever done. So the plan right now is I'm going to walk you in there and try to show you the different layouts that we're going to be doing. So let's go in there and take a look. Right in front of me is our location for our laundry machine right here. We're gonna have a stackable unit, and I'm gonna be putting in a laundry box right around here, throwing in our glued trap, and then throwing up an air admittance valve. This is the only area that's gonna get an air admittance valve, because if you look at this cathedral ceiling, it's all covered up. At least on that side, I'm able to run all my vents, but on this side, I'm not able to. So I made sure that everybody knew there's gonna be an access door so that we can open it up and change the valve out whenever is necessary. If we come over here, you're gonna see a big juicy 3-inch stack that goes all the way up to open air, just like that. We are gonna be changing this out to ABS instead of copper. And the other thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna be running a connection at the top across here, and then we're gonna be following this joist down all the way down here. This vent that we're gonna be running upwards is gonna be for our kitchen sink over there. So this area right here, right on this stud right here, we're gonna have a kitchen drain coming out. They're gonna have the window centered to it, and then we're gonna run our vent across, throw it up, and that is the game plan for today. That's what I'm planning to run. The vent, switch out the stack to ABS. Juicy plumbing coming your way. Peeps, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below and that bell notification so you know exactly when we're getting videos. Smash that thumbs up, share with friends, and let's go do some delicious plumbing. So peeps, this is one of those installations that isn't a real representation of life, because the editing looks like this vent went up easy, but that couldn't be any further from the truth. This vent was a root canal. The scaffolding and ladder were no easy task to work on, and the angle of the roof itself didn't lend a hand either. But sometimes, as you all know, you just have to wrestle with the problem. And the biggest lesson that I learned on this job site is that stocking up on some 22.5-degree fittings would be a useful thing in the future. At some point, you're going to see a laser that I set up below, dead center to the stack, so I can verify if my fitting will line up center as well. On a ladder, it's really difficult to eyeball if you're in the center of the stack, so by throwing up this laser, it does a great job of taking out the guesswork. I am now just gonna walk you through what's the game plan, where we're at right now. So if you take a look over here, we are still running this vent right over here. We're running it up to the top here. This is not connected, this piece across, but basically I'm trying to get this piece to come in and then hit this stack right here. We're gonna put up a TY over there, make sure that it connects in nice and neat, but it's a little bit awkward because this angle right here is not actually a 45. So I'm playing around with fittings up there, trying to figure out what fitting in combination will work to get it across to in here. Working on these scaffolds has been a little bit of a pain. They are wobbly and I don't feel safe on top of it. And that's the other reason why this vent is going so slow. When I have to get up on top of a scaffold, I just don't feel 100% up there. So I go real slow to compensate for being so high and being so unsturdy, if you know what I'm saying. So anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so now that the vent is done, meaning it's run all the way up here and across, what I have to now do is get a 3x3x2 TY, and I also have to get a short little nipple that goes onto it, and we're going to transition from copper to ABS, tie this in, and then we're going to continue down in ABS. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark this out. I'm going to get up on the ladder, go up there where I plan to connect into. I'm going to mark out where I'm going to cut and also the length I'm going to need to put into the hub on this side right here. Then I'm going to cut the stack probably at this location right here, and then that location up there, and then we're going to pull it out very slowly, and hopefully it doesn't fall on us. That's fingers crossed. We just got to make sure that we're doing it nice and safe. I have a million things on my mind as I travel through this job site. Dad did a great job of instilling skills in me, but my knowledge of laying out job sites hasn't developed as strongly as the other ones. So I felt overwhelmed many times. I've consulted the code book, I've consulted friends, and I've even visited this job site multiple times just to stare at it and play with different ideas. My guiding principle inevitably was this. I'd ask myself, what is best for the homeowner? What is their best shot at a long-lasting plumbing system? So here, I may have spent a bit more money on material than I needed, but I know that they and their family are set for the future, and that puts my anxiety at ease. When you watch my hands, I don't look like I'm worried at all. They're seasoned, they're trained, they're calibrated for this work. But now, we are trying to bring my mind up to speed. And even though I spent nights worrying and it was very difficult, a little voice whispered in the back of my head and said, if it's hard, then you're growing, which tells me that I'm in the exact spot I need to be. So just a quick reminder, when we tie into a vent, we always make sure that the air is traveling in the direction of flow. So in other words, normally when you put a TY upwards for a drainage system, this is the way the TY would be fitting. But in this case, because it's a vent, we're facing the TY upside down so that the air travels upwards this way. Make sense? Let's go. Vents play such an important role in the formation of a plumbing system. They balance airflow, they produce smoother drainage, and the system becomes quieter overall because of them. And probably the most important thing is that they protect trap seals from being siphoned, so that sewage gas doesn't find its way back into the building. So us plumbers spend a great deal of time sizing and introducing vents because a fixture devoid of a vent is a formula for disaster, which could have and should have been avoided. What's really interesting is the code book doesn't ask for vents to be sloped whatsoever, but plumbers work endlessly to make sure that there is slope on them anyway, because rain will inevitably make its way in, and by sloping them, we can ensure that if precipitation makes its way in, it will also make its way out through the drainage system. Okay, so a couple of things I haven't mentioned. The first thing is that whenever you're cutting into a vent like this, you of course want to make sure that the weather outside is beautiful, because if it's raining, you're going to have Niagara Falls inside the house that you're working on. But as you can see, bright and beautiful day, very lucky here in Ontario. Despite the wildfires that are taking place right now, the air quality seems to be okay thus far. Second thing is I need to grab me a file. So whenever using a harsh material, a harsh blade like a Sawzall or a hacksaw blade, you're inevitably going to leave a strong edge to the copper. So we're going to get in there, file it down, make sure it's nice and clean and not rough. And then we're going to go ahead and put on the transition coupling that we have, put in the ABS, glue it together, and then start running our stack all the way down. The day's moving, let's go. So we run our vents so that they make their way all the way up through the roof of the house at some point. And I once had a vent rip right out of the flashing, which is what secures it to the roof. Thankfully, on that day, I had an extra set of hands to hold it while we were reinserting it. So on this job site, I spent a few more seconds just to make sure that we secured the stack so that we wouldn't run into the same issue I ran into before. So as you can see, a lot of effort went into just getting this stack and vent run, and that's why I opted to do them first. By getting this obstacle out of our way, and arguably the hardest part out of our way, we can now move forward and just work on solid ground from here on out. Alrighty, so we managed to run the stack today, and we also managed to run this vent. What I'm gonna have to do is cap off this stack from the bottom here, and then cap off this vent from the top there, because worst case scenario is it starts raining tonight and these start filling up, or at least if they're open, they start just draining on the floors right here. So those are the last kind of elements that I have to do. I know we aimed for a lot more than we did, but unfortunately that's how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes it just takes more than you expect to do the things that you were hoping to do. This vent was not easy. It was quite difficult, but I'm glad at the progress we've made, and we're going to be able to continue moving forward because of that. So peeps, thanks for watching. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below and that bell notification so you know exactly when we're getting videos. Smash that thumbs up, share with friends, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Katie Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.